welcome to Mind Your Business, the channel where we are in everybody's business. If you don't mind getting in people's business, you're on the right channel. Talking about current topics and gossip. Now, how is it that Ashley is just in the background and there's a whole heap of madness going on, all thanks to her? Like, seriously, she is at the middle of all of this madness. While going on this, people, my inclusive crew, let's talk about Real Housewives of Potomac. Now, we go back from the beginning. You've got the new lady, Nneka, and her husband. Well, she goes and picks him up from the airport, it looks like. Gets a call from Karen inviting her to pickleball. And then we soon quickly establish that her whole storyline at the moment and her husband at the moment seems to be around Wendy and her husband, because why is it Nneka's husband's mentioning that he actually went university with Eddie? So obviously if you did go university, you would mention that, but I just feel like it's been shaped at the moment around Wendy. This is their storyline so far. Anyway, so we know that he apparently went uni with him, and on Facebook somehow he's unfriended him since this whole call from Wendy's family to the in-laws about Nneka talking about Wendy and all this kind of stuff going on. And note that she did use the words aggressive. I did notice that when she referred to Wendy and her mum being aggressive. And I'm thinking, doesn't sound like Wendy's been involved in it. It sounds like her mum has been involved in it and her sister. But anyway, we'll get back to that. We also have, obviously, Robin and Giselle linking up. And Giselle mentions one shouting at her or yelling at her when they met up in Atlanta. And I thought that was an interesting chat, because you could see Robin was definitely not down for that and was like, no, he wasn't shouting. You know, he's got something going on his ear because he shouts a lot as a coach. I just thought, okay, Robin. And obviously she's basically just saying, no, that's not where it was. And, you know, obviously he's shouting at Giselle because of what Robin told him about Giselle not believing, you know, one story, basically. So basically from that conversation, we get that Giselle's kind of backed away from it, you know, after one shouted at her, she ain't here for no smoke and she just wants to keep just being friendly with Robin. And of course, you've got Robin talking about Nneka and her sit down with Nneka that she's not supposed to tell her, but of course she does, about this whole Wendy's mum situation. So of course the two of them are loving this foolishness because they don't like Wendy at all, and I feel like they just would like any excuse to ice out Wendy. And I wouldn't be surprised if somehow Robin and Giselle and Ashley actually kind of, you know, sourced out somebody who would happily go against Wendy. Like, I feel like that's what they needed. They needed an alliance on that side that happens to be of darker hue because of all the colours and stuff. Anyway, so besides that, we see Candice and her mum link up. I feel like Candice is so spoilt. How is it your mum's offering to buy you some new kitchen appliance like it's just some bananas from the store up the road? Do you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, I'll just get that. I was like, okay then. And she's like, oh yeah, can you get me a tour present and all this stuff? I was like, look at her. But anyway, she made me laugh because she's talking about her ashy tour life. And of course, she divulges that, you know, Chris wasn't happy with her about the money situation and how much she spent on the tour. And I always think it's hilarious because I feel like, Candice, you're just giving all these gems to your mum, because then your mum obviously is going to come back with the whole, oh, if Chris is making any money anyway, basically. The mum always cracks me up because she really is always coming for Chris, but sometimes I feel like she comes too hard at Chris. But, you know, she's going to stay coming for Chris because she wants her daughter to be, you know, spoiled and in the money like she's always brought her up to be. But anyway, fast forward to pickleball. It's interesting because you've got everyone coming together. And we know that there's lots of fractions within this group of women. So obviously Candice doesn't really speak to the Green-Eyed Bandits or the light-skinned crew. She doesn't really speak to them, you know. So she's really cool, obviously, with Karen, and she's cool with Wendy, and she's cool with Wendy's new friend, which is Kiana. And she obviously doesn't really know Nneka. She's only just getting to know Nneka. Nneka obviously seems to me, has chosen her side. She wants to go with the light-skinned alliance. And she's gone with Giselle and Robin and Mia. You've got Karen trying to forge some sort of vibe, because if you watch other shows, at least like Married to Medicine, I've done a review on that one as well, that's coming next. Them ladies, you can tell that they've got like real friendships going on. I feel like in this one you can see that everything's kind of fractured and no one's making any moves to try to mend those fences. It looks like Karen is trying to, you know, facilitate, but it's not really happening. You've got Robin, you've got Giselle. They stick to themselves with Mia usually as well. She joins that group. And then obviously Ashley as well. And then you've got Candice, who doesn't really isn't really talking to much people. She's been cordial with Ashley, but it's all very disjointed, and you can see it. It's not that nice to see. But anyway, I mean, it started off fun, you know, and it took a turn for the worse. You've got Karen cracking me up with her greeting with Mia. She's taking it easy since Mia pissed her off. So now she's gone from handshake to little distant air kisses. But of course, Mia being shady, as soon as Wendy walked in, she's talking about, you know, look who pops up and how she's always ruins everything. I just thought, can't wait to say something to Giselle, can you? It's like little mean girls over there. Now, Giselle and Candice obviously don't speak to each other. That's no surprise there, you know. But I do feel like Candice wants to get back on track with Robin. I mean, even her mum was asking her, like, you know, are you going to speak to Robin and whatnot? I feel like she wants to get back on track with Robin, but obviously Robin is in her feelings. But Karen trying to mix up the team to encourage them all to talk was funny to me, because you could see by their faces they weren't too impressed. Candice was not too impressed with her teammates at all. Now, when Karen said, let's go and all, you know, eat and try to get them to talk, I thought it was quite funny that as soon as she mentioned Robin's name, one was up and out of there straight away. But then the edit's quite interesting, because then when it comes back to Ashley sitting at the table and mentioning, you know, telling Wendy the wrong information, and Candice asking, well, then are they good and stuff, and it all just goes left. The men are back in the scene again. So I was like, well, what kind of edit is that? But anyway, this is where it all went crazy. Now, I feel like Nneka came off with an attitude in the damn first place, because when Candice says, are you all good? And she says, you know, well, I don't know, we don't really know each other to have an issue. And Wendy says the same thing. Why has she got to come back with so you're repeating me? So everything was just very combative. So I just thought, if you're trying to cut it here, you wouldn't have to come back with that little snidey remark anyway. And then she goes on to say she's aware that Wendy has a problem with her. So, of course, Wendy's like, well, how do I have a problem with you? And then she's talking about, you know, she's heard about it. You know, her sister's making calls to her in-laws about her, talking about her in the group. And Wendy's was apparently on the other line. Wendy's looking all confused. And then she's mentioning, her mum has made calls to the in-laws threatening to submit her name to the shrine and the in-laws' name to the shrine. But anyway, so Wendy says, you know, she's switching it up. You've got Nneka calling her a B. You know, then obviously Wendy's vexed about that and chatting about, well, you know, why you call me that when I've been nothing nice to you? So it just all goes left, you know, it just gets out of hand. You've got Wendy getting up saying she's a hater and she's got a problem and she's doing some strut walking around that she's all that. So I'm like, okay, Wendy, like, just chill. I get it. But I just feel like it all was just a lot. I feel like Nneka was very rude. I feel like Wendy was a bit awkward in her rebuttals and just in her what she was doing. I was just a bit like, Wendy, you're doing the most as well. Like, it's cool. Like, you know, you're going on a bit ratchet for no reason. These are all about rumours about your mum submitting this to a shrine and, you know, you not wanting her to talk about you. It's just all nonsense. And I feel like Nneka should have been a grown woman and took her to the side and had that conversation. There was no reason to have that conversation in front of everybody, because you've got Mia and Giselle sitting there in the background enjoying it, lapping it all up. You got Robin whispering to Ashley about, oh, well, you know, she ain't letting her speak. She ain't letting her get everything out. She's trying to deflect. And Wendy bringing up, you know, the Ashley conversation. And then you got Ashley talking about, well, you know, I've already told her in the confessionals. Well, I've already told her, so she didn't have to bring it up, you know. But Ashley, you started it all. And you're sitting back still, once again, watching the whole madness happen. Because had you not planted those seeds of doubt and mix-up in the first place, then this wouldn't have happened. So now look at your work. This is all Ashley's work, basically. Candice was right. I feel like Candice was right that you can't hold Wendy accountable for what her mum or what her sister do, because they're all grown people. It doesn't make no sense. Wendy did like she was kind of surprised, but at the same time, the deflecting wasn't good, because I had to agree with Robin at that point, because it did like she was deflecting when she's saying about, she wants to make up with Mia. I'm like, Mia to me was quite ridiculous. It did make her look a bit crazy, because you just last week you said, you know, that she was slow, you called her slow, and now you're making moves to say, yes, go and talk to her, when she's the main one who's shading you anyway. If you watch it back, you'll see she is shading you. So she weren't too bothered about being friends with you, but you took her to the side to go and speak to her. But I feel like it did look like you were deflecting. And of course, Robin would say something about it, because Robin also knows how to deflect very well. And what I didn't like as well is what you've got, you know, Mia and Giselle, Robin, everyone's just listening and taking on what Nneka was saying without thinking, okay, right, maybe this isn't true. It was just like, it must be true. Yeah. It's just like, because they just dislike her so much, it's so much easier for them to just band together and just pick at her for anything. So that part was particularly annoying to watch as well, because just like, you guys are grown women, and yeah, you throw in words between each other, but for the most part, you know, either just suck it up and move on. Don't be acting all mean girlish. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm glad that Candice did have Wendy's back and was trying to talk some sense and, you know, say that basically, you know, people are responsible for their own actions. You know, you can't hold somebody else responsible for that. So I get that. And I know people online are saying that, you know, Candice is being double standard with that one, because why is she holding, like, Robin up for what Giselle's done? But I don't think it's just because of what Giselle's done. It's because she didn't necessarily defend her, and then at a certain point she was on the fence and, you know, wasn't being necessarily a friend towards her, and also had her own stuff going on, so knew that her friend was basically, you know, putting her under the spotlight while knowing that she's got her own little madness going on. So, you know, it's almost like she's saving face and being like, okay, well, you know, Candice can take the heat, and I'm gonna just keep my problem over here with one under wraps, and it all hit the fan anyway. I do feel like Wendy maybe felt a bit awkward and didn't really know how to deal with it. That's kind of the vibe that I get from that whole situation. But honestly, I just don't really like the whole Nigerian girls arguing, just like Candy said to Nneka as well, like, you guys shouldn't be arguing, like, it shouldn't be happening. And I don't think it has to be happening in the first place, because over foolishness, who knows who. Then you've got this whole next bit into Facebook argument. It's just a whole lot of madness. It doesn't really matter who knows who now, because you guys all know each other at the table. But the problem is that actually caused certain mix-up that made it seem like Nneka was talking about Wendy in a bad way. So then Wendy will let her family know, and then her family will probably just go into defense mode. That's what I feel like it is. But it didn't have to be handled in this way. I felt like if Nneka took her to the side, it would have just been a simple thing. But no, she went and just threw the whole thing out on the table, and it was just a whole hot madness. And I think Ashley brought it up, really, but I still feel like it could have been like, oh, sure, you can have a conversation over there and just try and work it out. But no. But yeah, I just felt like Wendy was acting up. Nneka was doing the most too. Candice is just trying to make sense of it. Ashley's getting away with it, but even though she calls all of it. Giselle and Mia are enjoying it. And then you've got Karen cracking me up because she didn't want any of it. So this isn't what she planned. It's a whole madness. Now, this Facebook situation is quite confusing to me, because from the start of the show, you've got Nneka's husband saying, yes, I do know Eddie, and he's unfollowed me or whatever, unfriended me. And then, you know, they mention it to Mia, and then Mia's obviously going to go over to Eddie and say, well, do you know this person? Do you know him on Facebook? They get together, and it looks like the man them are arguing. I just think this is all stupidness. But Nneka's husband does seem bothered by it, which made me feel like, well, maybe it is true. Maybe you did unfriend him more recently, because Eddie did look very awkward. Like he didn't want any of it. He was just like a bit like dumbfounded almost. He didn't really have much to say. Just saying, yeah, I just met you, and I just got introduced to you. When the guy was kind of pressing him up to answer the question, he's like, he didn't really want to answer it. So it was, yeah, it's all very awkward, but it's all very foolish as well. But the bit that really was a bit annoying was Nneka saying, you know, it's her mum's fault, and that basically her mum's a witch. Excuse me, you're doing way too much, honey. I'm sure Wendy wanted to slap you across your lips, because no, you don't be talking about my mum like that. Are you crazy? No. Anyway, it's a hot mess. We didn't get a preview for next week, but I will be staying tuned. But what did you guys think of the show? How are you feeling about Nneka and this whole foolishness? Do you think Eddie and the husband know each other? I will try and learn his name so I know what it is next week. But what the hell is going on with this show? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts below. Yes, so thanks for watching that. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, and hit that notification bell so you know when I am uploading some more of People's Business. So until then, my nosy people, stay blessed.